a 1,000 pound spinning rod. Sounds a bit nuts, but we're just about to take one out. So it was my birthday a couple of days ago. I helped myself to a really nice expensive rod. I've just bought myself a Zenaq. You almost certainly haven't heard of those in the UK, and that's because they're Japanese. They're handmade Japanese spinning rods. They're incredibly expensive, complete overkill, but I'm going to take you guys on this little journey. So you may have wondered what it would be like to fish a 1,000 pound spinning rod. Well, I'm going to take you with me, and we're going to do our first impressions on this 1,000 pound Zenaq Snipe. So this is the Zenaq Snipe 78xx. Before I say too much more, I'll just let this guy tell you about it.
Alright, for all my inshore lighter tackle stuff, this is the rod I've been using the most. It's the Snipe S72xx, and I use it up on the flats. You can encounter Tuskies, GTs, Queenies, all that kind of stuff, and this rod's perfect. When we were tusking the other day, that you don't want to mess around with them. You want a rod that's got a bit of power and you can stop them when you have to. So on this setup, I'm running 30 pound braid, little 4,000 Surtate, 30 pound leader for the Tuskies. But I also use this in the dam for barra as well, and vibing in the creeks. Super versatile rod. This rod, as the name suggests, 7.2 in length, lure weight 6 to 35 grams, P 0.8 to 2. Full titanium guides. The titanium guides are incredible. One of the things I really enjoy about this rod is just the crisp feel of it. I use also the 76xx, which is very similar, a little longer and a little softer in the tip. This one's a little bit stiffer, and because of that stiffness, I can feel absolutely everything. Any bite, any tick in the line, you use a vibe and you can hear the vibe vibrating through the rod. Super responsive, amazing little setup.
So this is the Zenaq Snipe 78xx. 78 is the length, so 7 foot 8 inches. Perfect length for fishing out of a kayak or a boat. Its casting weight is from 6 to 30 grams, but with these Zenaq rods, there's always a little bit more. They were manufactured in the mines of Mordor over in Japan and put together by unicorns and fairy dust. These things are incredibly rare. Everything about them is premium. I've used high quality rods like this, spinning rods, high-end spinning rods like this when I was fishing over in Australia for giant trevally. These are flats rods, and they've been designed to be able to take down some pretty big fish in quite harsh conditions over the coral flats. So they've got the strength in there, they're not going to snap. I'm going to be using this for bass fishing from my kayak and a bit of shore fishing as well. I've already tried it out. It's got enough backbone to really work those hard lures, surface lures, but it's got this unique thing, and this is something which if you've ever had a high-end Japanese rod, you will know about this. They feel quite stiff, but they have got this amazing ability that once they're under load, they're able to sort of like produce this beautiful fighting curve which doesn't overpower the fish, doesn't feel like it's overpowering the fish. So they're stiff enough to really work the lures and impart action, but they're soft enough to make it actually feel like an enjoyable fight, and basically they're not a broom handle. So let's go through this rod piece by piece. The back, we've got a little cork butt, a metal ring here, an aluminium ring with the Zenaq logo on it. We come up, we've got Hyplon handles, again very high-end Hyplon and handles. They're not sort of soft spongy things, they're quite nice, and it's contoured but very subtle but very comfortable. Then we've got a spacer ring here. The reel seat is a screw up one, so this whole section here screws up and is very solid. It's got a very solid feel about it. No sort of like movement which you sometimes get in some of those reel seats. It really cinches the reel down. And then we've got a little small hyper-long handle here. A little ring here, another little aluminium ring, and some whipping up here. It's all very minimalistic. In fact, it's so minimalistic that it doesn't even give you the casting ratings on this rod. It just says Snipe and made in Japan, and Zenaq. The actual guides themselves, now they can come in with two different sets of guides. This is the RS version. Now the RS version is basically their proprietary guide system. This little video here will show you what it's like, and basically what it does is it's designed specifically for braid, the PE lines, and it will control the line between here and this weird little first backwards looking guide which we've got here. And it's got these two weird sort of guides which are sitting here. All the guides are titanium Torzite guides. And what this guide does, it's got a very small bore on it, and it basically just funnels everything down. And then you enter this guide train of 14 guides. I'll say that again, 14 guides including a tip top. I've never seen anything quite like it. Now this is purposefully designed to control the line and control when you're fighting a rod, so you get a perfect fighting curve. It's something which I've really complained about before, even on some very high-end rods, when they've put too few guides, especially on the bait casting versions, and you actually end up getting the line coming down and rubbing on the blank. Now obviously you're not going to get that with a spinning rod because the line always runs underneath the rod. On bait casting versions they can come down, but this is designed specifically to uniquely load the rod equally across the blank, and so you get a really nice curve on the rod essentially. So what else can I tell you about this rod basically, other than it is an incredibly expensive rod. I took it out, I went bass fishing down at my dad's at the weekend, and it felt nice. I was very, very pleased with it. That slightly shorter length when you're wade fishing, it gives you that ability to impart action without dipping your rod tip into the water. And it felt very controlled. It felt like I was definitely in control of it. The stiffness of the rod allowed me to really control those lures properly. I haven't caught a fish on it yet, so that's a bit of a shame. I was hoping that I would, but I am quite pleased with the way this feels, and I'm quite excited to take this out and go bass fishing. The last thing I'll say is it's a spigoted joint here. So a spigoted joint is essentially where they insert a bit of carbon into the blank, and it goes in here, and then it inserts into there, and it pushes down again, really solid, no messing around there. And it has to be solid because this rod really was designed to take down some of those tropical beasts which you can get into, so much harder fighting fish than we sort of experience over here in the UK. I will say that the action of this rod is quite interesting. It almost feels fast actioned, but the actual curve of the rod goes all the way down into the base of the actual rod itself. So yeah, it's very unique. I mean, it's a unique rod, a very unique rod. I really like that. So there's loads of down in the bottom grunt, so you could really put some force onto a bigger fish, but it does have that kind of fast action tip. So before we go out in the water, I've got one of Zenaq's films which they've made for their fishing rods. It's absolutely nuts, and only the Japanese will do something like this, but it's beautiful. It's more like a film than an advert or trailer for a fishing rod. Check this out, see what you think.